What's up, folks? Sean the Average Angler coming at you with a great video today. And this one, folks, catches everybody fish. Lots of fish, big fish, small fish, mostly big fish, because that's what we like to catch here on the Average Angler channel. Thanks for taking the time to click on the video and join us today. As you can see, I am feeling a little better, but unfortunately, I'm still testing positive for that nasty crap. Today's topic of discussion is going to be chatterbaits. Everybody should be fishing chatterbaits, okay? They're not hard to fish. Maybe you need to get a little confidence in them, but once you have that, it's on. Year-round fish catchers, but here in the springtime, which we're coming into here. My garage door is open again. Only wearing the sweatshirt because I am sick. The weather's getting nice. The fish are going to be on the move. It's almost March. Chatterbaits, as you know, have been around for a while. Still probably underfished by some. Others know very much the power of the chatterbait. Since we are coming into spring, let's if you can only get one chatterbait, I'm sorry. I have a whole bunch of them. I love them. But if you could only have one, green pumpkin shad jackhammer would be the one to get. You could go with the green pumpkin Evo. Okay, the Evo has the flashy blade. The jackhammer has the regular green pumpkin blade. Okay. Moving on with that, because that's not one of my choices for the springtime. We are going to go through bait choices and conditions of when I might or might not use that one. We're going to go through rod choices because there's a real big misconception on chatterbait rods. There's no one size fits all, okay? Chatterbait rods come down to a rod, line, and reel selection. Okay, it needs to be together as one. If you mismatch them, then it may not be performing the way that it should for you, okay, which can bring frustration. And I did a video on this recently, my spring bait selection, but a good one to have is that fire craw. Okay, this one happens to be a jackhammer. This one happens to be a Evo. And still yet, this one happens to be a first gen Copperhead. I want you to notice a couple things on the first gen Copperhead. First, the blade is substantially bigger. It's also a little different shape. Two, the Copperhead has its name because of the two copper BBs here in the head. Okay, so what that's going to do is give it a different sound. As that blade hits those BBs, it's going to give it a different sound. I can tell you that this chatterbait has been very, very successful. Do they call it a chatterbait? No, they call it a bladed jig. Okay, here's another one of theirs. Okay, so you know they have these at Tackle Warehouse. I'll put links in the description. But these are a fantastic alternative to a chatterbait. They're not much cheaper. They're very well built, and they offer you an alternative. Okay, alternatives are always good to happen because if you've got 800 guys out on your local lake throwing chatterbaits and 790 of them are throwing a jackhammer, the fish are probably going to be getting conditioned, and it would be a good alternative to go to a copperhead. Okay, the Evo would be another alternative with that different color blade. However, it's still very similar to the jackhammer. Okay, here's another copperhead. Anyway, good alternative. So we've got the fire craw, and we're going to go over trailers in a minute. Another color that you have got to have at the ready in the spring is black and blue. Okay, and black and blue, most of the time I'm going to go to a black and blue because of watercolor. However, black and blue can just be a very good springtime color. So if you're on a bite and it's kind of not as good as you thought, it might be a good opportunity to toss that black and blue, give it a try, see if maybe they're really keyed on black and blue. Now, some other colors that I really like this time of year, and this is just a different version, green pumpkin and red. Now I can't remember what they call that one, but that is a jackhammer. When they came out in that color, I was really excited. Okay, green pumpkin, another great color to have. And then I'm going to have some sort of bluegill color, because some places they may really feed on the bluegill. Okay, this is an Evo. So as you can tell, I'm pretty neutral. Evo, jackhammer, it's really the color patterns that I'm after more than anything else. When it comes to trailers, there's a whole bunch of them. I like to keep it pretty simple. Okay, I like the missile baits, Spunk Shad, the hog farmer, Spunk Shads, same thing, okay? They come in a 3.5 inch, they come in a 4.5 inch, and they come in a 5.5. The majority of time on the regular size chatterbait, I'm going to go with that 4.5 inch, okay? It fits it really well, it performs really well, and there's all kinds of colors so you can mix and match. We're gonna go over that in a second here too. The 5.5, I'm going to throw when I have a body of water with a high percentage of bigger fish. Places like Clear Lake, for instance, okay? There's a lot of big fish in Clear Lake. I like to go to that bigger Spunk Shad, that 5.5, and then adjust. Trailers are something you can adjust, folks, okay? Now, you get something like this fire crawl, this is a 3.5 inch here. You can mix and match with a lot of different colors. You can put it on a green pumpkin for a subtler look. You can put it on that green pumpkin red, or you can put it on a fire crawl for a really loud and bright package. When they want the loud package, it's really hard to beat it, and the big fish tend to eat it. The same thing can go for the bluegill, right? Here's a great bluegill trailer, and this one's called Green Pumpkin Delight. As you see, and if you pair that to something like this Copperhead here, got a lot of good color there. We all know bluegill and bass do not get along, especially in the springtime. So that's a good pairing. Now, there's a couple others that I might like to use as far as trailers go. One of them being the Strike King Rage Menace. I'll typically turn that one on its side, right? It's got the two kickers in the back. I like to tip them up instead of flat, so it's got like a fishtail kind of kicking back there. These are really good around grass and cover, pretty much around everything except wood. All of these baits I showed you just now will tend to get hung up in wood. If you're fishing an area with a lot of wood, Z-Man makes the cross-eyed. That is probably the better one for wood. It's got two antenna-like deals that come up to make it weedless, or woodless, if you will. So let's get into, before we get into where we're gonna fish them, let's get into the rods and the line and that. Here you will see I have an Irod 723. Okay, this is known as a stone cold swim and vibrating jig rod. Now you'll see braid on here right now. That was from my swim jig. I tied this on here, but I'm not fishing it like that, okay? This reel needs to be changed out, and I will be going to 16-pound fluorocarbon on this. This will also be my Mini Max rod, okay? In addition to an alternate color. My typical rod is more of this setup, okay? I got a 6.3 to 1, 18-pound Sunline fluorocarbon, and this one happens to be the Wild Card bladed jig rod by Irod. It is a Quercus, which is a little higher model, and it is a 733V for vibrating jig rod. That is a medium heavy vibrating jig rod. The reason I said the braid's coming off, and I mentioned this earlier, you gotta really watch what you pair together, because you've got a rod that's gonna give whatever it's designed to give. Line, however, braid, there's no give. So you got no stretch with the braid. Fluorocarbon, you have some braid. Mono, you're going to have more stretch. So I stay away from mono when it comes to vibrating jigs. I will, for the most part, and almost exclusively, fish fluorocarbon line on my bladed jigs. And in most cases, it's from 16 to 20 pound test. What would change that, or what would make me pick one weight over the other? 16 pound test. I'm going to use mostly with those mini max applications, and if the area I'm fishing is void of cover and I want to get the bait a little deeper. 18 is a good all around, and 20 I'm going to go to when 1, I'm around more cover. 2, I'm trying to keep the bait up a little bit without speeding my retrieve up. So you can use the line size to fish the water column up, down, okay? You can go up to 22, 25 if you wanted to. I generally don't go over 22 because I'm a sunline fisherman. That's just where I tend to stop. It's got all kinds of strength with it. I will punch with 20-pound sunline FC Sniper. Just an example there. So getting back to these rods that I have are vibrating jig rods. They are not glass. Therefore, if I put braid on it, there may not be enough give in the line rod combination for that bass to suck that bait in. Remember, bass eat by sucking in, okay? So even though they might be coming up after it, they suck in to eat. You want some give there to enable that to happen so that the fish get the bait well. Okay, I have plenty of strength and backbone in these to still set the hook and drive that hook home. They do offer rods that are glass, and there's nothing wrong with them. Glass tends to be a little bit heavier. A lot of those are actually glass composite rods, and some of them are full glass. Now, if you're gonna use braid, if you're a braid guy, then you may want to look in that realm of glass or composite where the rod bends further down into the rod and you don't want to give any more from your line, so you're going to use braid. Tried braid, I don't really care for it on my chatterbaits, so that's just me. But be sure and pair your rod, reel, and line combo together to find the optimal fit for you. And look, we're all different, we're all individual, so I can't tell you what's right for you. That's something you need to figure out. If you like braid and you use braid on everything, then that's probably the route you're gonna go. I personally use mostly fluorocarbon on everything, okay, except my spinning gear, my frogs, and my topwater. Mono, little too stretchy for me. I do not suggest it. If you're using a rod that's too stiff, find a rod that's more appropriate. Okay, there are some cranking rods that would fit the bill. Typically, they're going to be a medium heavy. The rod lengths I like to use are 7 to 7.3. As you saw, I have a 7.2. I have a 7.3. I also have a 7-foot composite rod over there that I like to use at times. For those that might want alternatives to the jackhammer, and let me tell you, there's a lot of them out there. The Chatterbait Elite, I've had some epic days on these, okay, and they're like $6-7. They work fine. That's one alternative. Another alternative, if you're near Bass Pro Shops, this is the Bass Pro XPS Chatterbomb, licensed by Chatterbait or Zman. Very, very similar to the jackhammer, except if you can see it, there is a collar around the skirt, okay? It's one thing I don't like. No reason you can't get one. And hand tie it just in case that rubber band gives, because it's not a matter of will it, it's when. Another alternative for those of you internet buyers, this is a Noibi chatterbait, 1/2 ounce, and this thing is about as identical to a jackhammer as you're going to find, and they're about $3.50 on AliExpress. Okay, it's the Noibi. The half ounce is the 14 gram, folks. They have some decent colors. They're built well. They start up quick. Very, very similar. I have a bunch of them. I fish them. I will not fish them on tournament day because I just don't feel like there's a risk, although no need to take that risk. I have not had a problem with them. I don't want to come across like I've had a problem with them. They are very good, okay? Where are we going to fish them? Typically, I'm looking for flats, okay? It's springtime. Flats are just going to be popular. You're going to hear me say it again and again and again. Flats, 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 flats. Not all flats are created equal. All flats probably will be getting some visits from Mama Bass as she's coming up to feed and get ready to spawn. My favorite flats are flats off of a creek channel, off of drop-offs, close to deep water. Protected areas tend to be good, okay? If you're familiar with Lake Berryessa, it could be the East Bank. There are other flats on the lake. The East Bank is a big, huge flat. The best way to cover it is with a moving bait. There's a lot of ground to cover there. Some other places are going to be around docks for me. Clear Lake, tons of docks. Docks are really, really good in the springtime. Bass spawn around docks. Bass feed around docks, okay? When we have the high water, we tend to have a good amount of water on docks. Fish will use the docks to move up towards the bank for cover. Let's not make it more difficult than it is, folks. This is a very, very simple bait. You go out and catch fish in. Put it in your hand, pair it to the appropriate rod and reel and line combo. Whatever trailer you like to use on there. The Spunk Shads are really hard to beat, folks. You get a lot of action out of a really good trailer. There's other cross stuff you can put on there if you want. I just don't find it necessary. If you've watched my other videos, you do know that I really like to fish the Yamamoto Swim and Senko on the back of a chatterbait this time of year. Only pre-spawn. I don't use it after that. It's just something about the real wide waggle of that 5 or 5.5 inch Swim and Senko that seems to catch lots of bass for me. And here it is right here. And that's that Swim and Senko, okay? That is a 5 inch or 5.5 inch. And it waggles really wide on there side to side, okay? That helps me keep the bait in the depth that I want and fish it slower. I'm Sean, the Average Angler. If you like this kind of content, hit that subscribe button. We'll see you on the next one.